Shalom to everyone watching. This is Rabbi Moshe Otero with the Ways of Israel, Los Caminos de Israel. We're continuing this chapter on the synagogue where Jews assemble. And we've been looking at the different personnel in the synagogue. And we've been looking in the first part as to the role and the function of the Cohen in the synagogue. One of the functions of the Cohen has to do with the ceremony of the priestly blessings. As we read in Numbers chapter 6, verse 22 through 27, "And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to Aaron and his sons. Thus shall you bless the children of Israel, and say to them, May the Lord bless you and protect you. May the Lord cause his countenance to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord bestow his favor upon you and grant you peace. Thus shall you put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them." Again, that's in Bamidbar, or Numbers chapter 6, verse 22 through 27. It's a commandment in the Torah that the Kohanim bless the people as it is written, "And thus you shall bless the children of Israel." Numbers chapter 6, verse 23. This rite has been popularly come to be known as Duchen, or after the term of the platform upon which the Kohanim stood when they uttered the blessing in the temple days. In Hebrew, the rite is called Nesiat Kipayim, the raising of the hands, and they usually raise their hands with the fingers extended in this fashion, both hands, not just one. A Kohen who blesses is himself blessed, and one who does not bless is not blessed, as it is written, "And those who bless you I shall bless." Genesis chapter 12, verse 3. Any Cohen, not otherwise disqualified, who does not ascend to the bema to recite the priestly blessing, transgresses a positive commandment of the Torah. I want to emphasize here a positive commandment. I is emphasized so that it should not occur to the Cohen to say, "We will bless Israel." For it is written, "For the Lord your God will bless you, as he promised you," in Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 6, and chapter 21, verse 5. "And the priests and the sons of the Levites shall come near for them the Lord your God, who has chosen to minister to him and to bless him in the name of the Lord." The priest was no mediator, and no priest should say, "I bless the children of Israel." God is the source of, and he alone can give effect to the blessings pronounced by the priest. And they were merely the channel through which the blessings were conveyed, or was conveyed to the Israelites. And this, you may want to take a look at Rabbi Hertz's commentary on Numbers chapter 6, verse 27. Rabbi Joshua ben Levi was of the opinion that a qualified Cohen who does not ascend the bema for the blessings transgresses three positive commandments. Number 1, "And thus shall you bless." Number 2, "And say unto them." And number 3, "Let them put my name." In other words, it was these three areas that the Cohens were required to bless Israel, and through which Hashem himself would bless them. We read this also in Sota 38b. The commandment is violated only if the Cohen is present when called upon Duchen and fails to do so. This is the reason for the customs among Cohens who are disqualified or for personal reasons feel reluctant to perform their duty to step out of the synagogue before the reader reaches the point in which the services they would have to ascend to the bema. So a Cohen, if he's disqualified because perhaps he married a divorcee or married a convert, he ought to step out and not be counted among the Cohens that will bless. It is much a mitzvah for a Cohen to perform the rite of the priestly benediction, as it is for any Jews to observe any of the positive mitzvot, such as eating matzah on Pesach, sitting in the sukkah on Sukkot, putting on tefillin each day. Although the Cohen technically avoids the violation of the mitzvah by stepping out of the synagogue, he is guilty in the spirit if he deliberately avoids it. A Cohen is disqualified from Duchenin for the following reasons, and please pay attention because it's very important. If he is in violation to the priestly law by having contracted marriage forbidden to him and regularly disregarding the restriction of forbidding defilement with the dead. If he is halal means the offspring of a marriage that his father was not permitted to contract because he was a Cohen. The descendant of such is considered halal. If he has in any time committed murder, even if he has since served his punishment and repented. If he physically is disabled, deformed, possessed of a physical blemish, as mentioned in Leviticus chapter 21, verse 16 through 24, that might distract the congregation. If he is an onan, a mourner before the burial takes place, or a mourner for his father or mother during the 12 months period of mourning, or a mourner of other relatives during the Shloshim, the 30-day period. Please take a look of my series that I speak about the laws of the mourners. If there are no other Kohanim in the synagogue, the mourner may dachen. Only during the week of Shiva may he not do so at all. In Israel, only the latter restrictions prevail. If he's drunk, if he's intoxicated, or has drunk intoxicating beverage prior to Dochanin, he is not allowed to go up and bless. If he despises the congregation, or in turn is despised by them, and this we're going to take a look at in a few seconds. The transgression of religious commandments other than those referred to above does not disqualify a Cohen from performing the rite of priestly benediction. So, for example, if the Cohen happens to be a closet gay, and all of a sudden people find out he is, that doesn't disqualify him from blessing. Just as one who violates the Shabbat is not disqualified by putting tefillin or sitting in a sukkah or eating matzah on Pesach, neither is a Cohen halakhically disqualified from fulfilling his priestly mitzvah. In an extremely observant congregation where one who is not a devout observant person is regarded with disdain and is not accorded with other honors, it may also be that a Cohen who does not observe Shabbat laws or dietary laws or other religious duties may be barred from ascending the bima based upon the last disqualification mentioned above. In other words, he's rejected by the community. In this case, if he happened to be a now open gay person and people know that, he may be also asked not to ascend the bima for blessing, although he is qualified. Wherever, however, religious laxity is prevalent among the congregation and the non-observant individuals are not tolerated but play a leading role in the affairs of the synagogue or congregation and are honored by being called to the Torah, it is an act of misplaced piety to be discouraged, and a non-too-observant Cohen from performing the rite of priestly benediction. Under such circumstances, it is in fact meritorious to encourage him to do so, in order to credit him with additional mitzvah and to prevent him from the rite of traditional service from becoming forgotten. Properly performed, it is not only a meaningful but also inspiring and beautiful as well, so as not to nullify the mitzvah of Dachanin. The halakha rules that if the reader himself is a Cohen and there are no other Cohen present, he may go up and Dachanin even though he is otherwise not required to do so. We call this a lone Cohen. A Cohen who does not ascend to Dachanin should step aside of the synagogue before the prayer of Ratzeh and remain outside until the priestly benedictions is completed. In the diaspora, the Kohen performs the rite of the priestly benediction during the repetition of Musaf on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and the sacred days of each of the three major festivals, of which we read is Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah and some of the other holidays that fall through. In some communities in the diaspora, it's customary not to Dachanin on Yom Tov, which falls out on Shabbat. There is no basis for this practice. It is proper to Dachanin on Yom Tov if even it coincides with Shabbat. Before ascending the Duchanan, the Cohen must wash his hands up to the wrist, as was the practice in the temple in preparation to his divine service. As it is written, and he will lift up your hands to the sanctuary and bless the Lord. Psalms 134:2. No blessings is recited. No blessings is recited. It is proper for a Levite to pour out the water over his hands. A Levite pouring over to the hands of the Cohen. Numbers chapter 18, verse 2. If no Levite is present, any firstborn son may also pour the water. In other words, it doesn't have to be a Levite. It could be a firstborn among Israel. If neither a Levite nor a firstborn son is present, the Cohen should do it himself. Just as the Cohen was forbidden to enter the temple area wearing shoes, Berachot 9:5, so the sages decreed after the destruction of the temple that a Cohen may not ascend the bima for the priestly benediction wearing his shoes, Sota 40a. They should be removed and loosened before washing the hands so that there is no need to touch them after the washing. The Cohen should wear socks or slippers made of cloth, rubber, or straw instead of going completely barefoot. The Kohanim ascends to the bima when the reader begins the blessings of Ratzeh. When they first ascend, they face the holy ark. And when the reader or someone designated for the purpose calls out the Kohanim, Kohanim, Kohanim begins to recite in unison the following blessings. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'kiddushato shel Aaron. Blessed art thou, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified with the sanctity of Aaron. At this point, with a prayer shawl over their heads to prevent distraction, their hands are lifted to their shoulder height and fingers spread in the appropriate manner, and they turn around and face the congregation and conclude the blessings with the words. And when they say they raise their hands, it is in this fashion. And you'll see this diagram on page 205 in the book, but both hands touching together, facing the direction of the congregation. And then they will say, V'tzivanu ivarech et amo Israel be'ahava, and commanded us to bless his people with love. This is why it's so important. If the Kohanim have no love or have disdain for the congregation, it is better not for them to go up to the bima to bless. Since the blessing requires Israel to be blessed with love, if a Cohen despises or hates people in the congregation, or the congregant despises or dislikes him or hates him, he should not ascend for the priestly benediction, but should step out of the synagogue. The reader then calls out each word with the blessings to the Kohanim. While the Kohanim utters the blessing, the words of blessing, the worshippers should not say anything at all, but should listen carefully to the words. And at the end of each sentences of the blessing should be following with V'yishamerecha v'hunecha shalom. And this is the way the congregation will respond with Amen. The melody used by the Kohanim for chanting of the blessing should be uniform and specifically reserved for this rite. The words of the blessings must be said loudly enough for the congregation to hear. One should not, however, short nor raise his voice above others. A pleasant and moderate voice level should be maintained by all the Kohanim. While the Kohanim recite the blessings of the congregation as they face in the direction of the Kohanim, however, their eyes should be cast down as a sign of respect and humility. According to some sources, the reason for not looking at the Kohen is to avoid being distracted and concentrating on the words of the blessings. So we don't look directly into the Kohen. The custom in some places of turning one's back to a Kohanim in order to avoid gazing at them, though well-intentioned, is a fact crude insult which nullifies the merit of the blessings. Again, the correct position of the fingers is indicated on page 205, and again is putting both hands together in this form, touching the thumbs with thumbs. The priestly benediction must be placed face to face. The Talmud relates that the people standing behind the Kohanim are not included in the blessing, for it indicates the blessing was not so important to them to make them leave their place and stand before the Kohanim to be blessed face to face. A Cohen who ascends to perform the duty should first have received some instructions and guidance from another Cohen and or from the rabbi, and he should have consulted the codes of additional details of the ceremony that he needs to know. If there is no Cohen in the congregation, the reader substitutes the petitionary prayer, which begins with the words, O God, God of our fathers. And this includes the entire priestly benediction in the form of a quotation of a biblical text. The Cohen is given priority in the distribution of religious honors, and thus it is the Cohen who is first given the first right of aliyah wherever the Torah is read, unless he agrees to waive his privilege. That way no one else may be called up first. Similarly, it is the Cohen who has the priority in leading grace after Mir Birkat Hamazon. If all are assembled, there are equal status. You'll see many times in many congregations, in order to give an aliyah to someone else who is not a Cohen, he steps out of the synagogue or congregation so they can call that person up for the first aliyah. And this is some of the rules and honors given over to the Cohen. And it is very important to understand these facts because it brings upon a blessing upon the entire congregation, and thus an important part of our service to God. And so we end chapter 9 with the Cohen and his powerful blessing to all the children of Israel. In our next videos, we're going to take a look at the special occasions of the years in which you, as a student of conversion, should know very well the different major festivals and holidays which we all as Jews celebrate. This is Rabbi Moshe Otero. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at rabbiotero@yahoo.com. Shalom, shalom.